Good evening, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We are now live. And welcome to my channel. It's me, Heidi. Now, today, on the first official episode of Monday News, we'll be extending on the same on the subject I discussed with my guest last Monday, which is the LGBTIQ freedom zones, or as Poland and Hungary want to call them, their opposite version of this concept, LGBT plus free zones, trying to, as if pretending rainbow people don't exist in these regions. Now, as we all know, that is complete and utter bullshit. They are just delusional thinking that LGBT plus people do not exist in these areas. Now, last week I discussed with my guest the equality plan that the European Commission came out with just very, very shortly after. I think it was Poland came out with this new horrendous plan or idea of theirs as to how and why it should or shouldn't work. Now, since then, a news article has come to my attention with regards to the European Union plans, or actions rather, towards these horrendous policies put forth by Poland, especially Poland, as well as, of course, Hungary and other countries with policies in place that oppress LGBT plus people in their countries, as well as discouraging the advancement of LGBT plus rights, both domestically as well as internationally. But now, joining me tonight is a very, very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself before we go on? Because most viewers have no idea who you are. So please go on.
Yeah. Hello. Well, I go here by this name, Kakmonsteri, and I am Heidi's girlfriend, partner, and I am here joining her to chat about today's theme. Yeah.
And thank you very much, darling. Now, I think I'll bring up the article regarding titled EU declared LGBT freedom zone in response to Poland's LGBT free zones, and this is from BBC News from 4 days ago. It was an interesting read here. This time it's from the European Parliament. The plan that was discussed last week came from the European Commission. However, as we all know, it's all part of the European Union. Parliament and Commission, both part of the big head organization there in Brussels, Strasbourg, and Luxembourg. this, as BBC writes, uh, the European Parliament has declared that the whole European Union is an LGBTIQ Freedom Zone, and the symbolic resolution was passed in response to the local authorities in Poland labeling themselves LGBT ideology-free zones in recent years. And they are also, and as I understand it, they have also already succeeded in Poland to close up the loophole to of the adoption legislation in order to stop this, or plug up this what they call loophole. Now, what do you think of this term LGBT ideology? Is it an ideology?
No,
No.
no. And that's actually something I had in mind that I wanted to talk about. There was another article on BBC where they actually visited one of these so-called LGBT free zones in Poland and interviewed one of the residents there, and he refers the LGBT movement to ideology and compares it with communism. So yeah, that's an interesting read, this article as well, which kind of digs a bit deeper into this. And he says that he doesn't think that there is anything wrong as such with homosexuality, but he describes it as an aggressive ideology promoting homosexuality. So he sees it as an aggressive ideology, which could be compared to communism. And he says that communists used to wave the red flag and told people they were fighting for the poor, for the workers, for the peasant. Now these activists hold up the rainbow flag and say they are fighting for sexual minorities. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like their mind. What do you say? Yeah.
Mindset, yes.
Mindset.
That rhetoric is something I've heard before. I've heard it before from certain political movements, not just in Poland, but also, for example, in our country, Finland. I've heard it from certain political movements here as well, and it's not uncommon to hear this kind of rhetoric. However, this kind of rhetoric is not in power, or should I say, it's not backed up by the majority of people here in most places.
Yeah, I've never heard anything like
this
before. So.
I've heard it many times from certain political movements here in Finland as well, and from abroad, from similar type of political movements, and as well as citizens movements, shall we say. Therefore, it's nothing new that this kind of rhetoric comes up, but what really surprises me is that this would actually go down in real life. I mean, I've seen and heard people just babbling on about it in public and online, but I never thought this would actually go through. As I understand it, this hasn't even been going on in the United States or United States of America, which is quite astounding that that countries in Europe would go do something like this. Now, the Polish government announced the proposal for adopting a ban they proposed for the adoption ban just a few hours before the European Parliament's declaration in support of LGBT plus, and this what Poland is suggesting now is because same-sex relationships are not legally recognized, and hence they cannot adopt children together. But there has been a loophole in their legislation basically permitting them to adopt a child as a single parent, which is kind of a loophole because same-sex couples cannot adopt together, but apparently they weren't monitoring whether or not they would, but it was possible for them to go as a single parent, gay people, LGBT plus, as a single parent to go and adopt a child. But if a person is found to be applying, as it says here, if a person is found to be applying as single parent when they are in a same-sex relationship, they will be criminally liable. Why would it? Yeah, that.
What kind of a criminal offender is that?
Yeah, it does seem that way, that it's actually it's considered a crime to adopt if you're in a same-sex relationship. It seems to be that it's a crime.
So it's not only forbidden, it's a crime as well that you can get.
Yes, it's not just for. It's not just that you're not just not able to. The issue, okay, one issue is that they are not able to as couples, but it's apparently adopting together as a same-sex couple is a crime, apparently. Now, yes, here's a link to the article you mentioned. Was it?
That was
this one. Yeah. If we have time, we might as well go into that, but we'll see if we have time for this. Now, the Deputy Justice Minister, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm sorry, Polish people, but Michal Wojcik said that they are preparing a change where people in cohabitation with a person of the same sex cannot adopt a child, so a homosexual couple will not be able to adopt a child. That was kind of saying the same twice in one sentence. However, what is this EU resolution? This resolution was supported by 492 MEPs. MEP is member of the European Parliament, while 144 voted against it and 46 abstained. This would mean that 46 MEPs didn't have the guts to say anything, to tell us their opinion, which is kind of sad that they are members of the European Parliament, but yet refused, don't have the guts.
Yeah, but so was this just like a statement, or what exactly? How do you, the declaration, or what is it that this EU?
Well, what this is,
Like, does it have any legal measures, like, or
as it says,
it's just a statement?
As it in the beginning, it says this symbolic resolution was passed in response to the local authorities in Poland. So basically, what this is
a symbolic.
This one, declaring European Union as to be an LGBTIQ freedom zone. It's symbolic. It's symbolic, yes. This what the European Parliament did. It's symbolic. Yes, it's not legally binding as such, but it's more of a morally binding statement.
I have like a bit of, or how I feel about this, that I mean it's really great that the EU takes a standpoint, but in practice I don't think it has any effect, to be honest, for these people in Poland that are so aggressively against it. It's not going to change anything, and I don't really know like how.
Yes, it's been regardless.
I really think there should be some stronger, like, well, I don't know, if not legal, then other kind of ban or something.
Well, what we have here is what we have from the European Parliament is symbolic, but what we discussed last week is the European Commission strategy. This is from the European Commission. This is from November last year. It's a press release that this is more of a more of a binding thing. There's I think was it 3 or 5 year plan? Yes, 5 year plan, and this strategy addresses the inequalities and challenges affecting LGBTIQ people, and setting out a number of targeted actions, including legal and funding measures for the next 5 years. This what came from the European Commission in November last year is binding. They are actually going into legal and funding measures as per from the European Commission. This is something a bit different. And this was announced by the President of the European Union. I didn't catch their first name, but President von der Leyen, in her statement of 2020 State of Union address. But this strategy then again proposes to extend the list of EU crime to cover hate crime, including homophobic hate speech and hate crime, and bring forward the legislation on the mutual recognition of parenthood in cross-border situations, among others. But the issue with hate crime is that in Finland, hate crime is not a crime. You cannot be, if you commit a hate crime due to, for example, you kill an immigrant because you hate immigrants, or you kill a gay person because you hate gays, you get you get charged with a regular regular murder charge. There is no hate crime in Finnish legislation, which
Yeah.
this might just bring it to the Finnish legislation eventually, the term hate speech and hate crime. But now I'll just take a few comments from now. Arthur Weber, my lovely guest from a while ago, not so long ago, and he just tuned in. And how come any anti-LGBTIQ plus legislation is constitutional in EU states? Look, you can make anything, almost anything, look constitutional. You can look in a certain country across the pond where a certain golfing dick made a whole number of things look constitutional or legal in the light of constitution, but said person isn't in power anymore, at least for the time being. But it's possible to get all kinds of shit through and make it look constitutional, including anti-LGBTIQ plus legislation, including adoption, legal recognition of the same-sex or gender diverse relationships. Say same-sex marriage. We got a few years ago, just over 4 years ago in Finland. That would have been constitutional a long time ago, and it was unconstitutional that we didn't have it because we were before that, and yet still we are bound by the European Human Rights Convention, as well as the United Nations Human Rights Convention. But you can still make all kinds of things look constitutional.
Yeah, I feel like there is. I mean, this whole thing, like, feels like there's like some loophole, or there should be, like, how is this possible to violate human rights that easily within EU? I think that's like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And shocking.
It's baffling to say the least. The thing is that why and how it's still possible in European Union in 2020, 2020 now, but last year and still now it's possible to have all these ridiculously discriminating legislation. But still we have a huge gap between different countries.
Yeah, I mean, what if some country suddenly was like having some racist law or whatever that violates human rights? I mean,
they've had it boiling. They've had Poland and Hungary. You know what? It's been boiling. It's been boiling there for a while.
I'm not surprised that they're doing it, but I'm meaning if some country does something like that to violate human rights, like how are there not stronger measures? Like, legal measures to tackle it and actually do
Exactly.
something about it. That's why I feel frustrated that the EU like symbolical statement, it's not really doing anything, I feel like.
And here we have Arthur saying, yeah, any kind of discrimination goes against human rights. You are very right, Arthur, dear friend. Uh, Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be just this, but this is just
Yeah, I feel like
this is just
it should be.
the pinnacle of
Yeah.
why, uh, the pinnacle of what discrimination being against human rights. This is one of the very many pinnacles of, because this is wrong on so many levels. On so many levels, this is just so wrong. Because being born queer isn't something you can choose. I didn't choose to be born trans. I didn't choose that. But still, I am trans. And if I were to be discriminated against due to being trans, it's against human rights, against the European Union or the European Convention of Human Rights, as well as the United Nations Convention of Human Rights. Yeah, how I can't understand how Poland, the Polish politicians didn't thought they could get away with this. In the sense that it's like they've had consequences already when it comes to EU sanctions. They've had EU sanctions due to these kinds of human rights violations against LGBT plus people. Now, I'll take another comment from Arthur. Hungary has showed off their deep-rooted traces of fundamentalism. Yes, unfortunately, these all too often these issues are rooted in some kind of religious fundamentalism, which we have noticed, which we have seen around the globe, even notably across the pond, which is based on fundamentalism. And hey, Susan, I'm glad to have you here. I'm super happy to see you tonight. And Susan saying the ridiculous issue of public restroom use by trans in the US is making me mad. Look, me too. That sort of thinking is intertwined with this issue in Poland and Hungary, which Poland is predominantly Catholic, has always been, despite communism. How much do you think, or why do you think it would be such entwined, these two, religion, especially religious bigotry, and then this LGBTIQ plus phobia? It's always intertwined, but why? Do you have any guesses?
That's why
That
It's
why religion, and especially religious fundamentalism, regardless of the religion, whether it be Christianity, Islam, Judaism, one of the three bigs, uh, Buddhism, Sikhi, what have you, these big religions, and the fundamentalism. What do you think? It's all
yeah.
too
I think
often together goes hand in hand with religion, especially religious fundamentalism.
well, yeah. As a background, so I've studied comparative religion, and I could say that I think for these people, I mean, they feel like it's an attack on their life and their worldview, and as they said in the other article, that they feel like it's an ideology or propaganda. They feel like there is that they have to change and their lifestyle does not go together with this, which is absurd because LGBTQ people have always existed, will always exist. It's just a difference of will we have the same human rights as other people or not? Are we have always existed and we will always. So, but they feel like this is a direct attack on their existence and their worldview, narrow worldview, and yeah, well, why it's. I think about fundamentalism, it's about simplifying your surrounding, simplifying everything. You can't see broadly, you can't see nuances, you can't see colors
Yes,
or the
indeed.
rainbow. You just see
Yeah.
black and white and not even gray in between. So yeah, it's all I I don't know exact the research on this, but I'm sure there is some research of what kind of people are drawn to fundamentalism. I mean, because even young people can. So, and there is of course also research on why certain people are drawn to fundamentalism ideologies. But what is funny is like that is an ideology, whereas existing, being LGBT, it's not an ideology. It's a person, a human being, and a human being should have equal rights. What your worldview is, be it a religion, politics, or philosophy, that's an it's in your head. It's not who you are. So
Exactly.
it's funny
So
that they are talking. It's funny that they are talking about ideology when they
they
themselves are
themselves have an
some sort of
ideology.
ideology. Yeah.
They themselves come up with an ideology because they base all that on their religion, which is an ideology. I cannot. They go on to say I cannot do this or that because it's against my holy book, my religion, or my political view. That is discrimination based on ideology. That is ideology. It's not ideology. The it's not ideology to defend equality in people that they have no control over. I
Mm.
don't have control over the fact that I'm trans. I do not have the control over the fact that I had no other. Eventually, I had no other option but to transition, which is another story. I might eventually go and make another stream, maybe on Friday Facts, on what a path of a transgender woman could be in modern day Finland or modern day Europe. But this, what we talked about, but we got maybe a bit of a sidetrack. But I'll take before we continue on the topic, I'll take Susan's comments here. We can all read it from the screen. I will not read this out loud, but you can all read it from the screen. And I'll leave it for a moment on, and while we go on with the European Commission's strategy going forth with regards to the equality strategy they put out in last November, because it has to do a lot with the fact that now they came out with the European Parliament came out with declaring Europe an LGBTIQ Freedom Zone, which is not per se legally binding, because it's a more of a moral human rights declaration. Now I'll bring it up on the screen there. Now the resolution from the European Parliament declares that quote, and I quote, LGBTIQ persons everywhere in the European Union should enjoy the freedom to live and publicly show their sexual orientation and gender identity without fear of intolerance, discrimination, or persecution. And end of quote. It adds, quote, authorities at all levels of governance across the EU should protect and promote equality and fundamental rights of all, including LGBTIQ persons. Now here they take the stand that there's a human rights issue. It's definitely a human rights issue, which then is going forth, so that the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen had already backed the resolution before it went to a debate on Thursday. Being yourself is not an ideology, it's your identity, she tweeted on Wednesday. No one can take it away. The European Union is your home. The EU is hashtag LGBTIQ Freedom Zone. Last year, Ms. von der Leyen said that Poland's quote-unquote LGBT free zones had no place in our union, and vowed to push all EU member states to recognize adoptions for same-sex couples, which is a good thing going forth. And Thursday's resolution said that discrimination Thursday's resolution said that discrimination not only needed to be addressed in Poland, but it was an issue across the EU. That is very true. It needs to be addressed in the entire union, because simply due to the fact that it's this kind of bigotry and attitudes are not just in these few countries.
Yeah, what I actually would be interested in is, have the EU made this sort of statement before, or is this like new and extraordinary for them to make such a statement? I would be like curious to know.
Yes.
Have they not, or is this like they'd have to keep on reminding that yes, LGBT people have human rights? Like, is this just like them
They've
repeating
come
what
out.
they've said before,
They've had
or is this like
the European Union has come out with similar statements before, but they haven't come up with this kind of plans, or
the strategy is
the strategy. No, this is this strategy that the European Commission came out with. It's the first ever strategy, which is kind of weird. Last Monday, I discussed this with my guest, that it is really weird that this is the first one, and this strategy that the European Commission came up with is more binding as such, because the report on application of employment is they have these different points here. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4 points? So basically, fighting discrimination, it basically going into legally protecting against LGBTIQ, against legally protecting against discrimination, and they will take actions such as the report on application of Employment Equality Directive, which was put in place several years ago now.
But what do you think? Why now? And why hasn't it been earlier, this sort of strategy, and why right now? Why do you think that they would now feel? Is it because the countries like Poland that they have felt like they need to take serious action?
I think the pressure has been building on them for a good while, because this isn't something unique, or this wasn't the first time not something exactly like this, but something similar would have happened in Europe, and these countries that went on to do all kinds of wild goose chase bullshit, were given sanctions, and not just European countries that were within the European Union, namely Russia, for example, Belarus, not that much, but the Russian Federation and the Ukraine. They've been given sanctions. I think the pressure was just building on and on.
But why can't they give sanctions to Poland then?
They have.
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there are certain things. I'm not. At least some financial pressure they've been giving to Polish people, to Polish politicians, namely, to the parties that have been.
Because that was what I was wondering before, that a symbolic statement is not enough. There need to be
the symbolic statement from the European Parliament isn't enough. You're correct on that one. However, the strategy from the European Commission is binding, and in that case, it came out in last November, which is legally binding and could get the country some sanctions, which is wonderful to say the least. To get at least some shall we say, justice. So it's wonderful that they get sanctions, and it's wonderful that they get put in place these new strategies. For example, we have, when it comes to the Polish government sticking up the loopholes when it comes to LGBT or rainbow families, there is also one of the 4 points is protecting rights of rainbow families. Here it says as follows: due to the differences in national legislations across the member states, family ties may not always be recognized when rainbow families cross the EU's internal borders. The Commission will bring forward a legislative initiative on mutual recognition of parenthood and explore possible measures to support the mutual recognition of same-gender partnership in member states.
Yeah, because now you can be a
okay, bye, Susan. Off you go. Yes. So
now you can be family in one country and
yes.
move to another country and you're not a family anymore.
Yes, as I understand it, there have been cases that same-sex couples, i.e. a lesbian couple, has gone on a holiday and it has happened so that when they live in a country X where they are both legal guardians of their children, it has happened that when they cross the border to another country, they are one of the 2 moms will lose custody of her own children, that whose guardian she is in their where they live. So that's why it's paramount to get the family legislation in place and working well, which is essential for the well-being of both the parents as well as the children. And it could be really, really hard on the children if something were to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
to
that's also
the other parent during the trip.
Yeah, that's also a question of the right of the children. I mean, or children's rights.
I wouldn't want my children to face such a situation. But luckily, we live in a country where the custody issues aren't as difficult as they might be in many other countries. But this is really fascinating subject. Really, it's here you have again the next steps. Now, as per the Commission, the member states are encouraged to build on existing practices and develop their own actions plans on LGBTIQ equality, and the objectives will be to protect better the LGBTIQ against the discrimination, and the commission will then monitor whether or not the implementations of the actions in the strategy in the member states. Now, the thing is, by the way, at this point, could you, dear viewers, send us questions, comments you would like to get replied or answered or addressed to tonight, because I think we will be going within maybe 10 minutes or so, because it's getting late. It's almost midnight here, and I'm trying to keep these one-day news of a reasonable length, so that it wouldn't get too boring for anyone. I will be monitoring the chats from all platforms: Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Yes, so please send comments if you have questions. I would like to say that this has been an interesting one, because my partner, it's her first one, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll see her in the future more on my channel. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting too. I mean, because I maybe wouldn't know about this issue. I mean, or I haven't seen in the Finnish news about this. It could be that I'm just missed it. But
it has been in the newspapers
at some point. Yeah. But still, it's good to know what's going on in Europe, because in some way or another it affects us all in Europe, and we should,
of course, it does,
stand together. So
of course. Okay, now that we are short of questions and short of comments from the audience, it's probably time questions and comments from the live audience. We can of course, later on you can comment on the comment section below the video, and I'll try to answer those questions the best I can. And please check the links in the description box down below as well. There are links to my playlist, the season 1, and then the season 2, which now is and the season 2 will now consist of Monday news, and then the Friday facts will have their own playlist then, and then we'll go forward with that. There's also my channel's email address. There are links to my Discord servers, two of them, my channel server Hades Corner, and the LGBT plus safe space server, which is as the name says, safe space for LGBT plus on Discord. I would be really delighted to see you all on both of those servers. Now, do you have any closing comments on this subject tonight?
I just really hope that this new strategy does have some effect, but I think things in Poland especially seem to be really bad, both when it comes to also women rights and LGBTIQ rights, and it's really bad over there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess only kind of hard measures might have some effect, but I don't know. But we just have to keep on going, and yeah, you only go forward, only go to the future.
Yes, excellent. Now we will go for tonight, and the next episode, Friday Facts, will be as promised on Friday 9 p.m. GMT or GMT/UTC, 9 p.m. UTC Friday, 11 p.m. on Finnish time, and then as always the Monday news will also be on at 9 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. UTC, and then UTC +2 will be 11 p.m. East European Standard Time. But for now, I'll see you on Friday. The Friday theme will be announced when I publish the stream, which is probably the previous day, the previous evening. I tend to send out or create the stream always the previous evening, but I can't promise anything. But it could be the same day. But hey, check the news. Please like and subscribe. Bye.